Morning. Last, I'd like to ask everyone, please retire behind the rail. The members will take their seats. We'll get started. Thank you. To give our invocation this morning, we have my favorite spiritual advisor, Councilwoman Janie Blackwell. Ask all guests and visitors, please rise.
Thank you very much. Good morning. Because he lives, God sent his son. They called him Jesus. He came to love, heal, and forgive. He lived and died to buy my pardon. An empty grave is there to prove my Savior lives. Because he lives, I can face the future. Because he lives, all fear is gone. Because he lives, and life is worth living. He holds a future just because he lives. Heavenly Father, we thank you because you lived. We thank you for giving us life and that we realize that it is you, above all, who has blessed us with leadership. We ask that you bless all who are here, who are leaders. Let us understand that we must keep our focus. We must do what we can to help those who are hungry, those who are homeless, those who are incarcerated. We ask you bless those in need, people who don't know where they'll be tonight and don't know where their next meal will come from. And Heavenly Father, we ask that you give us the wherewithal and the ability to help all those who come to us for help. Bless our leadership, our president, all who are here, not only here, but in our state and in our White House. And thank you, Lord, again for this day. Bless all who are here. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much, Councilwoman. This thing will be all right? Thank you very much. We're going to proceed. Thank you. The next order of business is the approval of the journal of the meeting of Thursday, October 1, 2015. The chair recognizes Councilman Greenlee.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the journal of the meeting of Thursday, October 1st, 2015 be approved.
Thank you. It has been moved and properly second that the journal of the meeting of Thursday, October 1, 2015 stand approved. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, ayes have it, and the journal is approved. The next order of business is request for leave of absence, and the chair recognizes Councilman Jones.
Thank you, Mr. President. On behalf of the majority, there are no requests for leaves of absence today.
Chair thanks the gentleman. The chair recognizes Councilman O'Neill.
Thank you, Mr. President. On behalf of the Republicans, there are no requests for leave of absence.
Chair thanks the gentleman. At this time, I would like to dispense with the regular order of business, and I would like to welcome and thank everyone who has come down today to witness their government in action. We really appreciate that you've taken time out of your day to come down and see firsthand the City Council of Philadelphia conduct this business. I hope you actually enjoy it so much that you come back again. Again, thank you very much for your participation. At this time, the chair recognizes Councilwoman Tasco, who will present a resolution, surprise, surprise, recognizing Jack Ferguson. Would Mr. Ferguson and those accompanying him please join the Councilwoman at the podium? Folks, it is great to have a got you moment every now and then. And Mr. Ferguson had no idea why he was here. You're welcome. You're welcome.
Well, Jack, we had to surprise you. Couldn't tell you. You just have been with us so many years, and he has done a wonderful job in promoting this city, and was actively involved in the family world meeting of families, and has increased with the staff of the convention center, increased the business that comes into the city. And so we're just so proud to have had you work with us for a short time with me, but with this city and in the capacity as CEO of the Philadelphia Convention and Visitors Bureau. So this morning, we want to give you a little recognition and say thank you for the work you've done, the hard work you've done, and the traveling. I'm sure it has paid a toll on your marriage because he's always out of town selling Philadelphia, telling people around the world how great we are and what we can do for them when they come to the city. So I am proud to be here to work with him and to present this citation. Councilwoman Brown, you're supposed to be up here with me. Whereas, since his appointment as president and CEO in 2011, Jack Ferguson has led the Philadelphia Convention and Visitors Bureau, PHLCVB, the sales and marketing arm for the Pennsylvania Convention Center, which is responsible for booking meetings and conventions into member hotels and the expanded Pennsylvania Convention Center, which is the 14th largest in the U.S., and serves as the global marketing arm for the city of Philadelphia, which generated $578 million for Philadelphia's economy from overseas visitors in 2014 alone. And whereas Ferguson joined the PHLCVB as senior vice president, serving in that position from 2003 to 2009, before being promoted to executive vice president, a position in which he oversaw the PHLCVB's convention sales and services division, promoted Philadelphia as a world-class city of choice, worked closely with business development efforts in life sciences, sports, and multicultural markets, and focused on emerging opportunities to raise the ranking of Philadelphia as an international visitor destination. And whereas, in his tenure at PHLCVB, Ferguson has overseen $13.7 billion of economic impact from conventions booked, growth and overseas visitation, including 620,000 visitors in 2014 alone, and was instrumental in the expansion of the convention center, which allows the PHLCVB to book large citywide conventions, multiple conventions simultaneously, and prestigious global and trade shows. His work supports the 242,000 hospitality jobs in the region. And
whereas currently, Ferguson also serves on the boards of the United States Travel Destination Marketing Association International, the Greater Philadelphia Chamber of Commerce, Jefferson School of Nursing, Mayor's Philadelphia International Airport Advisory Board, the Mayor's Hospitality Advisory Board and International Committee, Temple University School of Tourism and Hospitality Management, Widener University School of Hospitality, and the African American Museum in Philadelphia, in addition to the Brand USA Business Development Advisory Committee. When do you sleep?
never.
Joking.
Whereas, prior to joining the PHLCVB, Ferguson's career included headlining national and international sales staff of 2,200 salespeople for such companies as Promus Hotel Corporation, Doubletree Hotels, and Guest Quarters Suite Hotels, serving as Senior Vice President and partner of Learn System, which gave hundreds of thousands employed in the hospitality industry the ability to improve job performance and customer service skills via a web-based training and evaluation, and holding key executive sales and operational management positions with Westin Hotels and Resorts and Adams Smart Hotels and Resorts. And whereas Philadelphia native Ferguson began his work at the family's funeral home in Fairmount before working as a busboy for the summer at a restaurant down the shore with Joe, who became his wife and with whom he has 3 adult children and 3 grandchildren. And after 46 years in the hospitality and tourism industry, after 46 years in the hospitality and tourism industry, Ferguson's energy, determination, and vision of enhancing the customer experience, maximizing global marketing communications through technology, and educating the Philadelphia's region workforce will continue to inspire the work of PHL-CVB as it promotes the Pennsylvania Convention Center and the City of Philadelphia as world-class attractions.
Resolved by the Council of the City of Philadelphia that we recognize and acknowledge Jack Ferguson for his leadership and accomplishments as President and CEO of the Philadelphia Convention and Visitors Bureau, and for his exemplary contribution to Philadelphia's hospitality and tourism industry. Further resolved that an engrossed copy of this resolution be presented to Jack Ferguson as an expression of the sincere sentiment of this legislative body. This is a certification that this is a true, correct copy of the original resolution adopted by the Council of the City of Philadelphia on the 8th of October 2015. It is introduced by Marion Tasco and supported by all members of this City Council. Jack, we want to thank you because you've worked very hard. I want to thank all the staff of PHLCV, the Convention Center, some of whom are here, and all of the members of the hospitality community. He has represented them very well. And Jack, we will miss you. And I'm sure you're not going away, but we will miss you, and we thank you so much for putting Philadelphia on the map in a big, big way. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Chair recognizes Mr. Ferguson for remarks.
Well, this is very hard for everyone to believe that knows me. I am speechless. I can't believe you pulled this off. And when I came over here and I saw all my staff, I said, my God, it looks like we're having a staff meeting. And like I'm looking around and I'm thinking something's not right here. But I am extremely humbled by this, and I don't know what to say.
That's unusual.
That's what I said. I'm a native Philadelphian, and I'll just give you this little tidbit. And Joe knows this. First of all, we've been married 42 years. And I will tell you this, when Joe and she was the waitress and I was the busboy at the Jersey Shore, and I got quarter tips from her. Had I but known, I would probably thought twice about that, because I sort of turned the tide around. But we've had a really good life. We have wonderful children and grandchildren. Plan to spend a lot of time with them. And as you said, Mary and I am retiring from this job. I'm not retiring from life, which is really important. But it's been a good run, and my love for Philadelphia, and even when Muldoon hired me all those years ago, he said, Jack doesn't have blood, he bleeds Philadelphia. And I share this with you because I will never forget this years ago when I came home to 23rd Street and said to my family, I'm going to go to school in the West. I had gone to a 2-year college up in the Adirondacks of New York for hospitality, and I said, I'm going to go to then Nevada Southern University, because it was starting up a new hotel program. It became UNLV. I was the first graduating class from the hotel administration. I won't tell you how many years ago. And this is relevant to Philadelphians, and it's so important for you to understand where I come from. Everybody east of the Mississippi came from New York, except Jack. He was from Philadelphia, because there was no way I was going to be a New Yorker. There was just no way. It was not in my capacity. It's never been But to think I got paid to talk about the city I love was just great. So I thank you from the bottom of my heart. I am very humbled, and I can't believe you did this to me. And thank you, Mr. President.
You're welcome,
and thank
sir.
you all
Thank
of
you.
City Council.
Councilor Biddies. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you so much. For our next presentation at this time, the chair recognizes Councilman Heenan, who will present a resolution honoring big brothers and big sisters. Would Marcus Allen and those accompanying him please join the councilman at the podium? And joining Councilman Heenan, we have Councilwoman Bass and Councilman O'Brien. And also Councilwoman Reynolds Brown.
Well, good morning, everybody. And as you just heard the announcement from our council president, celebrating 100 years of existence, honoring, big brothers and big sisters here in southeastern Pennsylvania. And that is such quite a milestone that's been paved with work of the Good Shepherd, being on the front line with children at risk, one-on-one mentoring, a vibrant pool of volunteers, as you will hear through the reading of this resolution, but signed by all and passed by all city council. We can't thank the organization enough for what they do on a daily basis, changing people's lives and serving as a model for a national example of what should be done every single day in every single neighborhood. So with that, we are here honoring big brothers and big sisters of southeastern Pennsylvania for 100 years of service to the program. Whereas Big Brothers Big Sisters Southeastern Pennsylvania is a nonprofit organization that provides children facing adversity with strong, enduring, and professionally supported one-on-one mentoring relationships. The organization serves children who are living in areas with high poverty rates, high incidences of children that are at risk, juveniles with arrest, homeless, familiar incarceration in struggling public schools, and
whereas Charles Edwin Fox, then Assistant District Attorney of Philadelphia, founded the organization in 1915 as a way to help address the problems young boys were facing. Since that time, the program has grown extensively, serving more than 120,000 children in the greater Philadelphia area. And whereas for 100 years, Big Brothers Big Sisters Southeastern Pennsylvania has been helping to break the cycles of incarceration and poverty by providing children with compassionate and caring adult mentors. Its geographic footprint includes Philadelphia, Chester, Delaware, and Montgomery counties, where over 6,100 volunteers and children are engaged in mentoring programs. And
whereas the mentors for Big Brothers Big Sisters can diminish the risk factors children face and make a lasting impact on their lives. Last year, 98% of children in the agency's program advanced to the next grade, avoided being arrested, and avoided using drugs. And whereas Big Brothers Big Sisters Southeastern Pennsylvania is the third largest of over 335 agencies nationwide and voted the #1 not-profit for at-risk youth by Philanthropedia, and whereas
over the last century, Big Brothers Big Sisters Southeastern Pennsylvania has developed a strong reputation for the highest quality of service and expertise in child safety protocols. By steady adherence to the principles of fairness, reliability, and integrity, it has become a leader in the community and a model that is worthy of emulation. And whereas in 2015, under the current leadership, congratulations, sir, Big Brothers Big Sisters of Southeastern Pennsylvania launched the Mentoring Partnership and Resource Center. The new initiative will help over 135 other youth mentoring organizations in the region with capacity building, technical expertise, training, and advocacy. It also provides a medium to help the over 200,000 children in need. Now, therefore,
Resolved by the Council of the City of Philadelphia that we hereby honor Big Brothers and Big Sisters Southeastern Pennsylvania for 100 years of service to the region. And I just want to add for the record, point of personal privilege, to recognize the Good family, Reverend Good and former mayor, for his dedication and commitment to Big Brothers and Sisters over the years. Also recognizing that the resolution co-introduced by Council President Clark, Blondell Reynolds Brown, along with myself. So I want to congratulate them for all their hard work and dedication over the last 100 years. So congratulations.
The chair recognizes Mr. Allen for remarks.
Well, first, I want to thank the Council President Clark for his support and commitment to the kids of Philadelphia. I want to thank all the City Council for the support of Big Brothers Big Sisters. Last night, I had the pleasure of being at Stevie Wonder concert, and Stevie Wonder was singing Family Reunion. And after he sung the song, he was pretty emotional, and he said, whether you're black, white, red or yellow, it doesn't matter, because I can't see you anyway. And Big Brothers Big Sisters has a long history, started in this country when segregation was the rule of the land. At one point, there was a Big Brothers Big Sisters Catholic, there was a Big Brothers Big Sisters Jewish, there was a Big Brothers Big Sisters Protestant, and there was a Big Brothers Big Sisters Black. And I made a joke once. I said I never knew that black was a religion. But now, today, we bring all people together because we have a challenge, a huge challenge before us when it comes to our kids. Our kids really don't care where you come from. They don't care what color you are. They don't care what your socioeconomic status is. What they care about is, can you help them? Can we help get our kids a quality public school education? Can we ensure that we keep our kids safe? And can we ensure that we have corporations and small businesses here in the city of Philadelphia that's going to be able to employ them once they gain the skills that they so desperately need? So I just want to thank all of you on behalf of Big Brothers Big Sisters Southeastern Pennsylvania. It's an honor to serve an organization that has a long history with the city of Philadelphia and its citizens. Big Brothers Big Sisters also, our national office was started here in 1948. So there's a huge history with Big Brothers Big Sisters and the Big Brothers Big Sisters network across the country. So thank you so much on behalf of our board and on behalf of our staff and the communities we serve. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Biddies. Thank you very much. Our next presentation, the chair recognizes Councilman Jones, who will present a resolution celebrating Schuylkill Center with Mike Welbacher, and those accompanying him, please join the councilman at the podium. And joining Councilman Jones, we have Councilwoman Blackwell and Councilman Squilla.
So I'm not used to these individuals dressed up so nicely. Usually they have on their hiking boots and their binoculars and things like that. They clean up nice. I would say to you that 7 years ago when I started to expand my horizons to understand that there are different shades of green. I was never born an environmentalist. In West Philadelphia, where I grew up, the only grass was in the cracks in between the concrete that grew up. So as you get elected, you have to expand your horizons. I remember doing so, and I actually went up to the hinterlands of Manatona Farms and met with some of the neighbors, and I could not believe that I was still in Philadelphia. You see feral dogs and deer and the mighty bobolink that flies up there, and you learn the bobolink. It's an important part of our ecosystem. That's right. and then I found out about traditions like toad crossings, where the toads migrate to the water and the neighbors come out and guard their safe passage across the road. So these things you learn quickly in the 4th Councilmanic District, and today we are here to honor. And in fact, there are 300 species of birds that migrate from over my district to your district, and parts of the watershed. I think you might even get a little piece of it, Councilman Squilla. But these birds find their home in these sanctuaries that organizations like the Schuylkill Center help to preserve. So today, we are here to honor and celebrate the 50th year anniversary of the Schuylkill Nature Center for the Pioneer Environmental Education and Arts Program, located on 340 acres of preserved natural habitat in the 4th Councilmanic District.
Whereas the Schuylkill Center was founded in 1965 as the first environmental education center in a major American city, and whereas the center has been pioneering environmental educational programs throughout these 50 years, engaging millions of Philadelphians, including hundreds of thousands of teachers, in hands-on learning, and
whereas its environmental art program is the only one of its kind at a North American nature center, with indoor and outdoor exhibitions that spark insight and curiosity while fostering a bond with the natural world. And whereas its nature preschool is the first nature-based preschool to open in Pennsylvania, and
whereas the center's 340 acres of preserved habitats include forest, streams, ponds, and meadows, providing vital ecosystem services to thousands of native plants and animals. And
whereas its wildlife rehabilitation clinic is the only one of its kind, both in the city and in a 4-county area, serving thousands of injured, orphaned, and sick animals annually. And whereas hundreds of Philadelphians invest tens of thousands of volunteer hours annually, and
whereas every Philadelphian benefits from the oxygen its forests makes, the air pollution its trees filter, the stormwater its preserved land absorbs, and the natural beauty it protects. And whereas the Schuylkill Center is celebrating its 50th anniversary with a full year of special events, including burying a time capsule, which will be open at the center in the year 2040. Now, therefore, be it resolved
by the Council of the City of Philadelphia that it hereby honor and celebrate the 50th years of anniversary of the Schuylkill Center for its pioneering environmental education and arts program located on 340 acres of preserved natural habitat in the 4th Councilmanic District. Further resolved that an engrossed copy of this resolution be presented to the Schuylkill Center as evidence of our sincere respect and appreciation of this legislative body. And I would be remiss by not saying that Council President touches it, and because of his efforts, even though it's in my district, he's gotten the Audubon Society to come out and put a classroom there. And he's been an environmentalist a lot longer than I have.
Chair recognizes Mr. Wellbacher for remarks.
Good morning.
Good morning.
On behalf of the entire Schuylkill Center family, thank you to President Clark, City Council, and especially our good friends Councilman Jones and his Special Assistant Josh Cohen for this proclamation. I am joined by several members of the Schuylkill Center team. We're delighted to be here with you today. So we were founded in 1965 as a landmark, a pioneering effort, the first nature center in a large American city. 50 years later, we're still pioneers. We offer diverse programming to every age group, including Nature Preschool, the first nature-based preschool in the state. Our programs reach dozens of Philadelphia schools, libraries, and recreation centers every year. Our education director, Gail Farmer, is spearheading an effort of 30 nonprofits joined by the city's own departments of Parks and Recreation and Public Health called Nature RX, where top pediatricians will soon prescribe time in the outdoors to Philadelphia children to combat a number of public health threats, including obesity, a public health epidemic. Nature has innumerable benefits for people, including making all of us healthier and happier. Our environmental art program, unique in the country, celebrates its 15th anniversary this year. Since 2000, almost 250 artists have participated in indoor and outdoor exhibitions, and we are pioneering a concept whereby large-scale art projects restore broken ecological systems. Our wildlife clinic is not only the only one of its kind in Philadelphia, but the only one of its kind in a 4-county area. The city's animal care and control team bring us hundreds of animals every year. More than 3,000 sick, injured, orphaned animals pour into the clinic's front door annually. And as Councilman Jones especially knows, we are a critical piece of open space in Upper Roxborough, permanently protected. In fact, we are the single largest permanently protected, privately owned parcel of land in the city of Philadelphia. Our 340 acres of forests and fields will remain forests and fields in perpetuity, and we are very proud of that. That's a clap. So, education, restoration, rehabilitation, that's what we do. We love to invite all of you here in the chamber and all of you watching on TV to come visit us, come walk our trails for free, and join us for our programs, including free Saturday morning family nature events. This Saturday, our members will gather to bury a time capsule to be opened in 2040 on our 75th anniversary. Inside, environmental thought leaders from across the region have written predictions for how the environment will fare by then. They make interesting reading. Please know we stand ready to assist you here on City Council to protect, improve, and most importantly, educate our great city's citizens about nature and the environment. And thank you so much for this honor today. Thank you so much.
Council will be at ease.
You see, I wanna be a better man. Baby, what I gotta do just to understand that I want to be a better man. You know that love has no compromise. If you think it might pass you by, oh, the love makes me feel this way, and that's the reason you hear me say, I wanna be a better man. My heart is empty. Understand? It's the way I feel. It's the way I feel. My love for you. My love is real for you. You see, I wanna be a better man. I wanna be a better man. Yes, I do. My heart is empty. Don't you understand? It's the way I feel. It's the way I feel. My love is real for you. You see, I wanna be a better man. Baby, what I gotta do? Baby, what I gotta do? Prove that my love is true. Girl, I don't understand that I am the only man. Feel that my love is true. Feel that my love is true. Tell me what I gotta do. Tell me what I gotta do. Tell me what I gotta do. That I wanna be a better man. Baby, what I gotta do? Baby, what I gotta do? Prove that my love is true. Prove that my love is true. Girl, don't you understand? I'm the only man. Feel that your love is true. Tell me what I gotta do. 'Cause I wanna be a better man.
Thank you. That concludes our communications for today. Next order of business is communications, and the chair requests that a sergeant of arms delivers the messages from the mayor to the chief clerk. Thank you. And Mr. Decker, please read those messages.
To the President and members of the Council of the City of Philadelphia, I am submitting herewith for the consideration of your honorable body a resolution authorizing the receipt by the city of 911 subscriber and consumer fees for local use as provided by Chapter 53, 911 Emergency Communication Services of Title 35, Health and Safety of the Pennsylvania Consolidated Statutes. And an ordinance authorizing the striking from City Plan Number 271 and abandoning of a certain right-of-way for reserved for drainage purposes, which extends from Callowhill Street to Willow Street, west of 3rd Street. And an ordinance authorizing the vacating of Byberry Road, not on City Plan, from the terminus of Byberry Road as plotted on the City Plan, approximately 1,196 feet eastwardly, southwardly, and southeastwardly from Woodhaven Road to the City of Philadelphia, Bucks County line. And an ordinance amending Chapter 10700 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Refuse and Littering to make changes related to separation of recyclable materials from other waste for city and private collection of waste for those not eligible to receive city collection, planning, reporting, education, and signage requirements applicable with respect to certain regulated premises, and providing for penalties and enforcement. And an ordinance amending Chapter 9600 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Service and Other Businesses to prohibit the sale of tobacco products, electronic smoking devices, and unapproved nicotine delivery products at establishments where health care services are provided, including where pharmaceutical drugs are sold. Amending definitions and enforcement provisions related to retail permits for the sale of cigarettes and tobacco, and providing for penalties for certain sales of cigarettes, tobacco, and electronic smoking devices and unapproved nicotine delivery products, all under certain terms and conditions.
Thank you, Mr. Decker. You have any additional communications?
I have none, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. The next order of business is the introduction of bills and resolutions, and the chair recognizes Councilwoman Blackwell.
Thank you, Mr. President. Today I introduce one non-privileged resolution.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
Thank you.
A non-privileged resolution authorizing the Commissioner of Public Property to execute and deliver to the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority without consideration deeds conveying conditional fees, simple title to city on lots of pieces of ground with the buildings and improvements thereon situated in the 24th and 51st wards of the city of Philadelphia.
That resolution will be on next week's final passage calendar. The chair recognizes Councilman Greenlee.
Thank you, Mr. President. Today I offer one bill and, on your behalf, two resolutions.
Thank you, Councilman.
An ordinance amending Title IX of the Philadelphia Code entitled Regulation of Businesses, Trades, and Professions by creating a wage theft coordinator for the city and adding definitions, duties, penalties, fees, procedural requirements, a private right of action, and other related items regarding wage theft.
That bill will be referred to committee.
And a non-privileged resolution authorizing the Commissioner of Public Property to execute and deliver to the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority without consideration deeds conveying conditional fees, simple title to city on lots of pieces of ground with the buildings and improvements thereon, situate in the 37th ward of the city of Philadelphia.
That resolution will be on next week's final passage calendar.
And a non-privileged resolution authorizing the Commissioner of Public Property to execute and deliver to the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority without consideration deeds conveying conditional fees, simple title to city on lots of pieces of ground with the buildings and improvements thereon, situated in the 29th ward of the city of Philadelphia.
Also on next week's final passage calendar, the chair recognizes Councilman Heenan.
Thank you, Council President. I have no bills or resolutions.
Thank you, Councilman. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Tasco.
Mr. President, I offer one resolution, supported by, I think, all members of council, one bill on my behalf and one bill on behalf of the administration.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
An ordinance amending Chapter 9600 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Service and Other Businesses to prohibit the sale of tobacco products, electronic smoking devices, and unapproved nicotine delivery products at establishments where healthcare services are provided, including where pharmaceutical drugs are sold.
That bill will be referred to the committee.
And an ordinance establishing a no truck parking regulation on West Chelton Avenue between North 6th Street and North 5th Street, both sides.
Referred to committee.
And a privilege resolution recognizing and acknowledging Jack Ferguson for his leadership and accomplishments as President and CEO of the Philadelphia Convention and Visitors Bureau and for his exemplary contribution to Philadelphia's hospitality and tourism industry.
On this week's final passage calendar, the chair recognizes Councilman Johnson.
Thank you, Council President. I have one bill and one privilege resolution.
Thank you, Councilman.
Thank you, Council President.
An ordinance to amend the Philadelphia zoning maps by changing the zoning designations of certain areas of land located within an area bounded by 10th Street, Packer Avenue, Darien Street, and Hartranft Street.
That bill will be referred to committee.
And a privilege resolution honoring and congratulating the Honorable Judge Marjorie Rendell for her contributions to the City of Philadelphia as a judge, a First Lady, and an advocate for civic education.
This week's final passage calendar, the chair recognizes Councilwoman Kiona Sanchez.
Thank you, Council President. I have one privilege resolution sponsored by all members of council.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
A privilege resolution recognizing and honoring George Richeza for his 42 years of loyal service to the labor community and school district of Philadelphia.
That will be on this week's final passage calendar. The chair recognizes Councilman O'Brien.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have no bills or resolutions today.
Thank you, Councilman. Chair recognizes Councilman Good.
Thank you, Mr. President. I offer no bills or resolutions today.
Thank you, Councilman. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Reynolds Brown.
Good morning, Mr. President.
Morning.
I offer one bill, co-sponsored by Councilwoman Cindy Bass.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
An ordinance amending Title 14 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Zoning and Planning by providing special density rules for buildings with a green roof.
That bill will be referred to the appropriate committee. Chair recognizes Councilman Jones.
Mr. President, I have two non-privileged resolutions.
Thank you, Councilman.
A non-privileged resolution authorizing the Commissioner of Public Property to execute and deliver to the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority without consideration deeds conveying conditional fees, simple title to city on lots of pieces of ground with the buildings and improvements thereon situated in the 4th Ward of the City of Philadelphia.
Next week's final passage calendar.
And a non-privileged resolution authorizing the receipt by the city of 911 subscriber and consumer fees for local uses provided by Chapter 53, 911 Emergency Communication Services of Title V, Health and Safety of the Pennsylvania Consolidated Statutes.
Thank you. That'll be on next week's final passage calendar. And the chair recognizes Councilman O'Neill.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have no bills or resolutions.
Thank you, Councilman. Chair recognizes Councilman Squilla.
Thank you, Mr. President. I offer 2 bills and 1 non-privileged resolution.
Thank you, Councilman.
Thank you.
An ordinance authorizing the striking from City Plan Number 271 and abandoning of a certain right-of-way reserved for drainage purposes which extends from Keller Street to Willow Street west of 3rd Street.
Referred to committee.
And an ordinance repealing an ordinance, Bill Number 150473, to amend the Philadelphia zoning maps by changing the zoning designations of certain areas of land located within an area bounded by Green Street, 2nd Street, Spring Garden Street, and 3rd Street.
Also referred to committee.
And a non-privileged resolution authorizing the Commissioner of Public Property to execute and deliver to the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority without consideration deeds conveying conditional fees simple title to such city on lots of pieces of ground with the buildings and improvements thereon situate in the 39th Ward of the City of Philadelphia.
And that will be on next week's final passage calendar. The chair recognizes Councilwoman Bass.
Thank you, Mr. President. I offer 2 bills, one on your behalf.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
You're welcome.
An ordinance amending Chapter 10700 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Refuse and Littering to make changes relating to city collection of waste, separation of recyclable materials from other waste for city and private collection of waste for those not eligible to receive city collection, planning, reporting, education, and signage requirements applicable with respect to certain regulated premises.
Referred to committee.
And an ordinance amending Title VI of the Philadelphia Code entitled Health Code by amending Section 6503 entitled Licenses and Permits by adding certain conditions for food establishments to obtain a license.
And that will also be referred to committee, and the chair recognizes Councilman O.
Thank you, Council President. I offer no bills or resolutions.
Thank you, Councilman. That concludes the introduction of bills and resolutions, and our next order of business is reports from the committee, and the chair recognizes Councilman Squilla for a report from the Committee of Streets and Services.
What am I doing? Thank you, Mr. President. The Committee on Streets and Services reports 17 bills with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you, Councilman. Mr. Decker, please read the report.
To the President and members of the Council of the City of Philadelphia, the Committee on Streets and Services, to which is referred Bill Number 150058, entitled An Ordinance Establishing Parking Regulations in the Vicinity of Camac Street, both sides, Chew Avenue to Olney Avenue, Church Lane East Side, Ogons Avenue to Lamb Pike, Westmoreland Street, both sides, 16th Street to 17th Street. And Bill Number 150059, entitled An Ordinance Establishing Parking Regulations in the Vicinity of Carlisle Street and Westmoreland Street, Evergreen Avenue and Ardley Street, Evergreen Avenue and Anderson Street, Schoolhouse Lane and Germantown Avenue, Gravers Lane and Germantown Avenue, Sydenham Street and Tioga Street. And Bill Number 150539, entitled An Ordinance Repealing an Ordinance, Bill Number 120396, entitled An Ordinance Authorizing Northern Liberty's Auction to construct, use, and maintain various encroachments within the right-of-way on the north sidewalk of Spring Garden Street between North 3rd Street and Bodine Street. And Bill Number 150571, entitled An Ordinance Authorizing Liberty Property, 18th and Arch, to install, own, and maintain 2 newsstands on the 1800 block of Arch Street and to construct, use, and maintain conduits in, under, and across Arch Street for the purpose of supplying electrical, telephone, water, and sewer service to the newsstands. And Bill Number 150574, entitled An Ordinance Amending Section 2 of an Ordinance, Bill Number 130355, approved June 17, 2013, entitled An Ordinance Authorizing the Plotting upon a portion of City Plan Number 58 of a 2 feet wide area for public pedestrian use extending along the southerly side of Pearl Street from 10th Street to a point approximately 138 feet westwardly therefrom. And Bill Number 150602, entitled An Ordinance Authorizing 1919 Market to construct, own, and maintain various right-of-way encroachments at 1919 Market Street. And Bill Number 150605, entitled An Ordinance Authorizing the Planning upon a portion of City Plan Number 41S of a right-of-way for sewer and drainage purposes, approximately 30 feet by 25 feet in the area lying north of Patterson Avenue and east of the Delaware Expressway. And Bill Number 150616, entitled An Ordinance Authorizing the striking from City Plan Number 13S and abandoning of a certain right-of-way reserved for gas main purposes, which extends from 4th Street to 5th Street north of Dickinson Street. And Bill Number 150646, entitled An Ordinance Authorizing the revision of lines of grades in a portion of City Plan Numbers 120 and 121 within an area bounded by Jefferson Street, 24th Street, Oxford Street, and 22nd Street. And Bill Number 150647, entitled An Ordinance Authorizing Stacy Reed, owner and operator of the newsstand located on the southwest corner of Broad and Vine Street, to construct, use, and maintain conduits in, under, and across the southwest corner of Broad and Vine Street. And Bill number 150648, entitled An Ordinance Authorizing Jeffrey Tubbs to construct, own, and maintain an urban topiary at 1225 through 33 North 3rd Street. And Bill number 150663, entitled An Ordinance Authorizing the Installation of all-way stop signs at the intersection of Claret Street and Shellmeyer Avenue. And Bill number 150664, entitled An Ordinance Authorizing the Installation of all-way stop signs at the intersection of Claret Street and Font Street. And Bill number 150665, entitled An Ordinance Authorizing the Installation of all-way stop signs at the intersection of Millbrook Road and Kipling Lane. And Bill number 150671, entitled An Ordinance Authorizing the Construction of Sewer and Appurtenant Work in the Existing Rights-of-Way required to alleviate unsanitary conditions in portions of East Gravers Lane and East Abington Avenue. And Bill number 150706, entitled An Ordinance Authorizing the Paving of Bucknell Street from Oxford Street to Jefferson Street, 23rd Street from Oxford Street to Jefferson Street, and Bolton Street from Kroski Street to 23rd Street. And Bill number 150707, entitled An Ordinance Authorizing the Construction of a Sewer and Appurtenant Work in a Proposed Right-of-Way required to alleviate unsanitary conditions in portions of Waterloo Street and West Houston Street. Respectfully reports it has considered the same and returns the attached bills to council with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you. The chair again recognizes Councilman Squilla.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the rules of council be suspended so to permit the first reading this day of the bills that were just read into the record, with the exception of bill numbers 150571 and bill number 150648.
Thank you. It is moved properly second that the rules of council be suspended so as to permit first reading of the bills just read by the clerk, with the exception of bills number 150571 and 150648. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, the ayes have it. And these bills will be placed on our first reading calendar for today. Bills number 150571 and 150648 will be placed on our first reading calendar at our next session of council. Chair now recognizes Councilwoman Fiona Sanchez for a report from the Committee of License and Inspections.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Committee on Licenses and Inspection reports one bill with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you. Mr. Decker, please read that report.
The Committee on Licenses and Inspections, to which is referred bill number 150644, entitled An Ordinance Amending Section 9-1302 of the Philadelphia Code, entitled Home Inspection License, to add required conduct for home inspectors, all under certain terms and conditions. Respectfully reports it has considered and amended the same and returns the attached bill to council with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you. Chair again recognizes Councilwoman Fiona Sanchez.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the rules of council be suspended as to permit first reading this day of bill number 150644.
Thank you. It has been moved and properly second that the rules of council be suspended so as to allow first reading this day of bills number 150644. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, ayes have it, and this bill will be placed on our second reading and final passage calendar at our next session of council. The next order of business is consideration of the calendar. I note that these bills just reported from committee with the suspension of the rules have been deemed to have had a first reading. These bills will be on our second reading and final passage calendar at our next session of council. As there are no additional bills on our first reading calendar, the chair recognizes Councilman Jones for the purpose of calling up bills and resolutions on the final passage calendar.
Thank you, Mr. President. The following resolutions and bills are being called up for second reading and final passage calendars today. Numbers 150-724, 150-734, 140-519AA, 140-858, 150-145, 150-542, 150-615, 150-668, 150-611, 150-475, and 150-614. All other resolutions and bills are being held.
Thank you, Councilman. Before we consider these bills and resolutions that are on the final passage calendar, we will have our public comment session. It will go as follows. If you are interested in testifying on a bill or resolution that is on the final passage calendar today, if you have not already done so, I'd ask that you sign up at the table to my left. When your name is called, you'll go to the podium in the middle of the council chambers. There's a device and a microphone. On that device, there's a light. When that light turns green, it will be your time to speak. When the light turns yellow, you will have 30 seconds to conclude your remarks. And when the light turns red, we'd ask that you respect the guidelines and conclude your remarks. You will be given 3 minutes to testify. Mr. Decker, please call the name. Yeah. We're going to call up, because appears that everyone who has indicated the wish to testify, we're going to queue them all up and just call everyone up so we don't have to take time to individually call you. So we're going to call everyone's name who's listed to testify on bill number 140-519-AA, and if you could just get in line behind the Sergeant of Arms.
Amy Friedlander, Barbara Failer, Judith Parker, Joseph Beller, Alexander Soroka, Lisa Weinberger, and Marvin Robinson.
Thank you, Mr. Decker, and good morning.
My name is Amy Friedlander, and I live at 2313 South Street. Last week, I stated the 4 reasons that I oppose Bill number 140519AA. 1, our community had no voice in its drafting. CCRA did not provide even a single opportunity for membership input. 2, the bill flies in the face of our professionally drafted new zoning code. 3, the bill counterintuitively targets the most economically healthy region in the city. Center City is bursting with development and does not need incentives to entice developers to build. 4, this bill is a win for developers and devastating loss for the city. If you give goodies to the developers, you should exact something in exchange for the city. The May 1st, 2014 explosion on the 2300 block of Naudain Street that destroyed 3 homes proves that our infrastructure is dangerously old and broken. If you pass this bill and allow builders to overbuild in our neighborhood without first having them fund infrastructure replacement and upgrades, you will have blood on your hands. But today I want to talk about politics. As I understand it, you need donors to fund the cost of your election campaigns. Most of your donors are businesses. Because part of your work is about relationships, you get to know your donors, and you strive to help them when you can. I believe that this bill is an attempt to help your donors that work in the fields of development, building, and construction. But I urge you not to forget that the reason you need donors to fund election campaigns is because you need votes. Please do not forget that you need both your donors and your constituents. This bill is a win for your donors. Make it a win for your constituents by carving out the area from Spruce to South, west of 19th Street. More than 100 of us in just 72 hours signed a petition asking you to do so. Even without this patch of land, the legislation is a bonanza for developers. Don't leave your constituents holding the bag. Carve us out.
Thank you for your testimony.
My name is Barbara Failer. I'm from the 30th Ward, 16th Division. I'm a committee person who's lived near the South Street corridor west of 19th for over 2 decades. As I told you last week, my neighbors are all angry about this overlay and do not want to be included. How do you want me to tell them that they are being heard and taken care of? We need your help. We are not the same as South Street east of 19th Street. Most of South Street is zoned residential in our area. We are a residential neighborhood with a small, low-rise, neighborhood-serving business district that includes things like a dry cleaner, a bike store, rug store, kids store, resale shop, small supermarket, and a laundromat. We've supported deals with many developers for win-win agreements, but we do not want to become a strip of bars or high-rise buildings. Most homes are single-family dwellings. This area includes Devil's Pocket, where families have lived for generations and has been repeatedly held out as one of the gems of this city. This bill would gut a mostly residential neighborhood that has thrived for over 100 years. Who amongst you can look at my neighbors in the eye and tell them this is a good deal for them? I define neighbor here as those directly affected, but not those living within a 2-block radius of South Street and west of 19th Street. I do not mean those who live outside the area. If you vote yes on this bill, please tell me how to tell my constituents that the opinions of people outside our neighborhood are more important than theirs. If you can't, then please vote no on this bill and rewrite it to exempt the area as requested by my neighbor, Amy Friedlander. I believe we owe them the respect to rewrite the bill and honor their request for an exemption from the overlay. As a side note, I left last week's hearing about this bill and arrived home to a utility pole that was taken down by a dump truck at my corner, 21st and Bainbridge. This is a frequent occurrence. It happens every 2-3 months, and it confirms we lack the infrastructure for upzoning. We can't support the proposed development overlay. We've had a flood on 21st Street, a fire on the 2300 block of Naudane Street, a gas line on 24th Street with high pressure service that had to be shut down because of repeated leaks, a steam line on 21st Street shut down this summer, past summer, because of the problems. Please, please do not overdevelop what we can't support. We can't support what we have now. Thank you very much for your consideration, and I hope that we have your support.
Thank you for your testimony. Good morning.
Judith Parker. I have lived at 2317 Naudane since 1983. I urge you not to override the zoning for our neighborhood. I think it is wonderful when developers and community have to work together, and nobody has a right to override the opinions. I cite as an example the development of the Philadelphia School at 25th and South Street. The neighbors and the school had to work together to develop a plan that was acceptable to both the neighbors and the school. It's not perhaps perfect. The school would have liked it a little larger. The neighbors would have liked it a little less, but it preserved the open area that the neighbors cared about, and it was an example of win-win. I believe the zoning laws work extremely well, but when there's a conflict between development and zoning, I believe it should be negotiated, not adjudicated by right. When developers or anyone else has a right to ignore law, it is not a good thing. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony, ma'am.
Good morning. Thank you for the opportunity. Joseph Miller, Esquire. I say the Esquire rarely, but I want you to know I'm not here as a neighbor, but representing well over 100 people in the area in Councilman Johnson's district who are opposed to the bill as it relates to their particular area. You have already proven, members of council, that one size does not fit all, because in this bill you have already taken out certain areas. I'll make it brief because you'll hear the anguish from the individuals who are speaking to you. I don't have to repeat their objections. I just want you to know that they would like to see you remove from this bill the area bounded by 19th Street, the river, Spruce to South Street. I know that you're amending it again today. I know that you've taken out other areas. We're asking you, please take this area out. As a quick personal note, I think one of the amendments directly affects something that's actually been litigated already. The City Zoning Board had a case that spent 2 special meetings, hearings, well over 4 hours at 23rd and South, and the development that was requested was not granted. This bill would just put it right back in, so with legislative fiat, you would just ride over what hundreds of neighbors don't want to see there. And even the area as bounded is a little confusing in the legislation, although I think you're going to have amendments about that again today, which may make it worse. While you have 3 streets, 2 of them intersect, and most people, when they think of 3 streets, they think of 3 different sides of a block. And what you've done at 23rd and South, not purposely, I hope, is to, in fact, by having the intersection of 2 streets together on one side, meaning 23rd Street side, will absolutely override what the will of the people was there. Again, as I say, you've already demonstrated that there are certain areas that should not be included in this bill. The people in this district ask that you actually remove the area I mentioned before, 19th West to the river, south to Spruce Street. It is not what they want, and it's not good for them, and they've already demonstrated that. And in full hearing, they, in fact, demonstrated that before the City Zoning Board. So I thank you for your consideration.
Thank you very much for your testimony.
Good morning, all.
Morning, sir.
My name is Alexander Soroka. I live at 2219 Cater Street in Philadelphia. Want to say it first, I am not in favor of this bill as written. I want to start my testimony by saying, we the people, words that founded the United States of America. I, Alexander Soroka, have been a community leader in this area for over 30 years. I've made a major commitment to get other neighbors in this community to take an effort to make this a better city. We do not want our efforts to be undone and taken away from us. We the people, white, black, young, old, long time, new, have been working together and seeing what we needed to be fixed and work to have it fixed. We the people work together with police to get rid of drug corners. We the people work with builders, rehabbing buildings, building new properties. We the people work with city council issue upon issue. We the people worked with ZBI, the zoning board, to resolve many issues that we needed to be worked out. We followed the zoning board's laws, worked with with committees, residential neighbors, and business districts. We the people need to know what is going on in our neighborhood. We the people do not want to have developers unsafe, overdeveloped and unsafe. The new law, 14059A, is going to stop the community members from working together and have a say in the community. The goal, everyone should be working together. This new law will take away people's rights to work with developers. This new law will keep information away from people. It was doing the right and giving the rights to developers the right to win. When the zoning board works with neighbors, follows the laws, maintains the best for the city, maintains the integrity of our neighborhoods, the rulings they made need to stand. All of the communities need to feel good about where they live. They want to be able to work together with others to make this a better city. The goal, developers and residents both need to win. Taking away the orange zoning signs away from neighbors, changes may be coming. This new law stops people from getting together to work with developers. This new law gives the right to developers to build what they want. This new law prevents city council members from being able to help neighbors and neighborhoods. This new law gives developers the right to do what they want without the community, ZBI, or council input giving approval. We will give we will hold developers to the law. Limit checkout borders where they apply. Stop Bill 14059A from passing.
Thank you. Thank you, sir, for your testimony.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. I'm Lisa Weimerger, and I live at 2315 Dane Street. I'm one of over 100 people who signed the petition to have our neighborhood carved out of the Center City overlay. I learned about this overlay last Saturday. I had no knowledge of the 18-month-long negotiation that led to its formation. I had no opportunity to have my voice heard, no outlet to express my opposition. On Sunday afternoon, I sent emails to everyone I know who lives between Spruce and South and west of 19th Street, encouraging them to express their voice. Subsequently, and within 72 hours, we received over 100 signatures in support of the petition. I understand that many people are in favor of this Center City overlay. What I want to know is, who are they? Where do they live? And do they actually represent the interests of the residents who live in my neighborhood? The ones who actually care about preserving the quality of life and character of our already overdeveloped nook? We deserve a transparent process that fairly solicits the opinions of those residents whose neighborhoods are at risk for the type of dramatic change that could ultimately squeeze them out. I respectfully challenge you to take 72 hours of your time to find people that live from Spruce to South and west of 19th Street who support this overlay. Then I welcome an opportunity to sit down and find a win-win here. Until then, I urge you to stop this bill or carve us out. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony.
Good afternoon. My name is Lauren Vitas. I'm here as chair of the South Neighborhood Association. And I just want to express the support of our RCO for this overlay bill. This is something that we've been working on with the councilman's office and with the development community. We understand there are some concerns from those living north of South Street, but in terms of our jurisdiction, we believe that this bill is the right step forward. We think it's going to support the commercial corridors that make our neighborhood what it is. And we went through a robust process with our RCO in terms of vetting those amendments. And thank you again, Councilman Squilla, and the rest of the council members for your leadership on this issue.
Thank you for your testimony. Is that it?
Marvin Robinson. Carol Green. Commenting on 150668.
Good afternoon.
I'm sorry. Can you please pray for me this morning? I don't want to go to the bathroom with males. God loves you, and of course He loves the homosexuals, but they're going wrong. You know, God tells us not to commit fornication, which is unlawful sexual activity. And so all of us that commit fornication, God is not pleased with that, although He loves us. I want to be able to be unafraid when I go to the restroom, to the bathroom, not fearful that a person that is pretending to be a gay person is in that bathroom, and they might want to rape me or someone else. And not only that, but it's just not right, you know, because the Christian Bible tells us that we are not supposed to fornicate, and that means having sex without being married for the woman and the man. You know, a man and a woman are not supposed to have sex without being married. And of course, God loves them also. But if two men are married and having sex, that's sinful, you know, and God doesn't like that either. So I want us just to have the woman in the woman's bathroom and the man in the men's bathroom. And because it's not right to, you know, let the male and the female go in the bathroom together if that's the plan. And thank you for everyone here that loves God, and just don't give up. I just thank God for what I heard today, and you know, just don't give up, and let's keep doing what's right with the help of the Lord. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony.
There are no other speakers on the public comment list, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. The chair recognizes Councilman Squilla.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to clarify for the record, bill number that was just referred to does not allow different people into a bathroom. It's only single-use bathrooms. People where only one person at a time could go in. Therefore, you would never have a male and female in the bathroom at the same time. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. And the chair recognizes Councilman O'Neill.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. President.
Ma'am.
I have to...
Ma'am. Thank you.
I have to leave the chamber on city business, and I would ask that my vote be recorded as aye on all bills and all resolutions.
Thank you very much, Councilman. Leave shall be granted. That's it. Okay, that concludes our public comment. We will now move to our calendar. Mr. Decker, please read the title of 150724.
A resolution authorizing the Commissioner of Public Property to execute and deliver to the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority without consideration deeds conveying conditional fees simple title to city-owned lots of pieces of ground with the buildings and improvements thereon situated in the 6th and 60th wards of the city of Philadelphia.
Chair recognizes Councilwoman Blackwell.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the adoption.
It's moved and properly second. All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Ayes have it, and Resolution 150724 is adopted. Mr. Decker, 150734.
A resolution authorizing the Commissioner of Public Property to execute and deliver to the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority without consideration deeds conveying conditional fees simple title to city-owned lots of pieces of ground with the buildings and improvements thereon situate in the 25th, 31st, 39th, and 45th wards of the city of Philadelphia.
Chair recognizes Councilman Squilla.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the adoption of the resolution.
Yes. It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor? Those opposed? Ayes have it, and Resolution 150734 is adopted. Mr. Decker, 140519, double A.
An ordinance amending Title 14 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Zoning and Planning by amending Section 14502 to further provide for requirements within the Center City Overlay District.
Chair recognizes Councilman Squilla.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the amendment of Bill number 140519. A copy has been made and circulated to all members of council. I move for the amendment.
The amendment to 140519 has been proposed and seconded. All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Ayes have it. The amendment is approved, and Bill number 140519 AA will be placed on our second reading and final passage calendar at our next session of council. Mr. Decker, 140858.
An ordinance to amend the Philadelphia zoning maps by changing the zoning designations of certain areas of land located within an area bounded by Chancellor Street, 16th Street, St. James Street, and 17th Street.
This bill has been read on two separate occasions. The question is, shall the bill pass finally? Mr. Decker, call the roll.
Councilwoman Bass. Councilwoman Blackwell. Councilman Good. Councilman Greenlee. Councilman Heenan. Councilman Johnson. Councilman Jones. Councilman O'Brien. Councilman O'Neill is voting aye. Councilman O. Councilwoman Conan Sanchez. Councilwoman Reynolds Brown. Councilman Squilla. Councilwoman Tasco. Council President Clark.
Aye, the ayes are 15 and nays are 0. Majority of members present voting in the affirmative, the bill passes. Mr. Decker, 150145.
An ordinance to amend the Philadelphia zoning maps by changing the zoning designations of certain areas of land located within an area bounded by 11th Street, Susquehanna Street, 10th Street, and Diamond Street. Further, to approve the master plan for Temple University by adding the site bounded by 11th Street, Susquehanna Avenue, 10th Street, and Diamond Street, and the site bounded by Broad Street, Master Street, 13th Street, Joy Avenue, Watts Street, and Thompson Street to their institutional special purpose district and approving various construction projects.
This bill has been read on two separate days. The question is, shall the bill pass finally? Mr. Decker, call the roll.
Councilwoman Bass. Councilwoman Blackwell. Councilman Good. Councilman Greenlee. Councilman Heenan. Councilman Johnson. Councilman Jones. Councilman O'Brien. Councilman O'Neill is voting aye. Councilman O. Councilwoman Conan Sanchez. Councilwoman Reynolds Brown. Councilman Squilla. Councilwoman Tasco. Council President Clark.
Aye, the ayes are 15 and nays are 0. Majority of members present voting in the affirmative, the bill passes. Mr. Decker, please read the title of 150542.
An ordinance to amend the Philadelphia zoning maps by changing the zoning designations of certain areas of land located within an area bounded by Valley Green Road, Cherokee Street, and Walcott Drive.
This bill has been read on two separate days. The question is, shall the bill pass finally? Mr. Decker, call the roll.
Councilwoman Bass. Councilwoman Blackwell. Councilman Good. Councilman Greenlee. Councilman Heenan. Councilman Johnson. Councilman Jones. Councilman O'Brien. Councilman O'Neill is voting aye. Councilman O. Councilwoman Conan Sanchez. Councilwoman Reynolds Brown. Councilman Squilla. Councilwoman Tasco. Council President Clark.
Aye, the ayes are 15 and nays are 0. Majority of members present voting in the affirmative, the bill passes. Mr. Decker, 150615.
An ordinance to amend the Institutional Development District Master Plan of the Holy Redeemer Lafayette Retirement Community located at 8560 Varee Road by allowing for an addition to the skilled nursing building.
This bill has been heard on two separate days. The question is, shall the bill pass finally? Mr. Decker, call the roll.
Councilwoman Bass. Councilwoman Blackwell. Councilman Good. Councilman Greenlee. Councilman Heenan. Councilman Johnson. Councilman Jones. Councilman O'Brien. Councilman O'Neill is voting aye. Councilman O. Councilwoman Conan Sanchez. Councilwoman Reynolds Brown. Councilman Squilla. Councilwoman Tasco. Council President Clark.
Aye, the ayes are 15 and nays are 0. Majority of members present voting in the affirmative, the bill passes. Mr. Decker, 150668.
An ordinance amending Title IX of the Philadelphia Code by amending Chapter 9600 entitled Service and Other Businesses to add a new section to require that certain establishments and city-owned buildings open to the public with single-occupancy bathroom facilities use gender-neutral signage for such facilities.
This bill has been heard on 2 separate days. The question is, shall the bill pass finally? Mr. Decker, call the roll.
Councilwoman Bass. Councilwoman Blackwell. Councilman Good. Councilman Greenlee. Councilman Heenan. Councilman Johnson. Councilman Jones. Councilman O'Brien. Councilman O'Neill is voting aye. Councilman O. Councilwoman Conan Sanchez. Councilwoman Reynolds Brown. Councilman Squilla. Councilwoman Tasco. Council President Clark.
Aye, the ayes are 15 and nays are 0. Majority of members present voting in the affirmative, the bill passes. Mr. Decker, 150611.
An ordinance amending Bill Number 150162A, approved June 18, 2015, entitled An Ordinance to Adopt the Capital Program for the 6 fiscal years 2016 through 2021 inclusive, by adding and revising certain projects, amounts, and sources.
This bill has been heard on 2 separate days. The question is, shall the bill pass finally? Mr. Decker, call the roll.
Councilwoman Bass. Councilwoman Blackwell. Councilman Good. Councilman Greenlee. Councilman Heenan. Councilman Johnson. Councilman Jones. Councilman O'Brien. Councilman O'Neill is voting aye. Councilman O. Councilwoman Conan Sanchez. Councilwoman Reynolds Brown. Councilman Squilla. Councilwoman Tasco. Council President Clark.
Aye, the ayes are 15 and nays are 0. Majority of members present voting in the affirmative, the bill passes. 150475, Mr. Decker.
An ordinance authorizing the Public Property Commissioner on behalf of the city to accept title from Natural Lands Trust to a certain approximately 6-acre parcel of land known as 7900 Cherokee Street or Lane, subject to a conservation easement granted by the Natural Land Trust.
This bill has been heard on 2 separate days. The question is, shall the bill pass finally? Mr. Decker, call the roll.
Councilwoman Bass. Councilwoman Blackwell. Councilman Good. Councilman Greenlee. Councilman Heenan. Councilman Johnson. Councilman Jones. Councilman O'Brien. Councilman O'Neill is voting aye. Councilman O. Councilwoman Conan Sanchez. Councilwoman Reynolds Brown. Councilman Squilla. Councilwoman Tasco. Council President Clark.
Aye. Majority of members present voting in the affirmative, the bill passes. Mr. Decker, 150614.
An ordinance amending Chapter 1600 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Economic Opportunity Plans to provide for the preparation and filing of an annual report by the Finance Director that analyzes the extent of workforce diversity on projects and contracts requiring economic opportunity plans and identifies appropriate workforce diversity goals for future projects and contracts.
This bill has been heard on 2 separate days. The question is, shall the bill pass finally? Mr. Decker, call the roll.
Councilwoman Bass. Councilwoman Blackwell. Councilman Good. Councilman Greenlee. Councilman Heenan. Councilman Johnson. Councilman Jones. Councilman O'Brien. Councilman O'Neill is voting aye. Councilman O. Councilwoman Conan Sanchez. Councilwoman Reynolds Brown. Councilman Squilla. Councilwoman Tasco. Council President Clark.
Aye. Ayes are 15 and nays are 0. Majority of members present voting in the affirmative, the bill passes. Mr. Decker, do you have any additional resolutions?
A resolution recognizing and acknowledging Jack Ferguson for his leadership and accomplishments as President and CEO of the Philadelphia Convention and Visitors Bureau and for his exemplary contribution to Philadelphia's hospitality and tourism industry, introduced by Councilwoman Tasco.
Chair recognizes Councilwoman Tasco.
For the adoption of the resolution.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor? Those opposed? The ayes have it. That resolution is adopted.
And a resolution honoring and congratulating the Honorable Judge Marjorie Rendell for her contributions to the City of Philadelphia as Judge, a First Lady, and an advocate for civics education, introduced by Councilman Johnson.
Chair recognizes Councilman Johnson.
Council President, I move for the adoption of the resolution.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor? Those opposed? The ayes have it. And that resolution is adopted.
And a resolution recognizing and honoring George Richeza for his 42 years of loyal service to the labor community and school district of Philadelphia, introduced by Councilwoman Conan Sanchez.
Chair recognizes Councilwoman Fiona Sanchez.
Thank you, Mr. Council President. I move for its adoption.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor? Those opposed? The ayes have it. And that resolution is adopted.
There are no other resolutions on the final passage calendar, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, Mr. Decker. That concludes our calendar for the day. Are there any speeches on the part of the minority? There being none, are there any speeches on the part of the majority? Oh, all right. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Tasco.
Mr. President, we all know that recently our, I don't know how to say it, our dynamic, outstanding community activist and leader of the NAACP, former leader of the NAACP, passed away. I'd like for us to have a moment of silence.
Absolutely. Please stand. And the chair recognizes Councilman Squilla.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to remind anybody available tomorrow at noon in Chambers. Councilman Johnson and myself will be having the Columbus Day Proclamation for the parade, and followed by a nice Italian lunch. Also on Sunday, the parade steps off at noon at Broad and Moore Street. On Sunday, it's Columbus Day Parade, and we'll have an Italian festival there until 6 p.m. So hopefully everybody can make it, and hope to see you there. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. There being no other speeches, Chair recognizes Councilwoman Reynolds Brown for a motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that council stand adjourned until Thursday, October 15th, 2015 at 10 a.m.
Thank you. It's been moved and properly second that council stand adjourned until Thursday, October 15, 2015, 10 a.m. All those in favor? Those opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you all very much.
Good morning. This hearing is called to order. This is a public hearing of the Appropriations Committee on Bill number 150612. My name is W. Wilson Good Jr., Chair of the committee. I note that the quorum is present. Council President Darrell Clark is present, along with committee members Janie Blackwell, Bobby Heenan, and Blondell Reynolds Brown. The title of the bill, 150612, authorizing transfers and appropriations for fiscal year 2016 within the general fund from the City Council to the Director of Finance, contribution to the school district. The purpose of this hearing is to act upon an agreement that was done also pursuant to a resolution passed by City Council in June. That agreement has been executed. So we will move from our public hearing directly into a meeting and then return to the public hearing. And the chair recognizes Councilman Blackwell for a motion on Bill 150612.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move that Bill 150612 be reported out of committee with the favorable recommendation and also recommendation for suspension of the rules so as to permit first reading at our next session of council.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Bill number 150612 is reported out of this committee with favorable recommendation, suspension of the rules to allow first reading at our next council session. We now move back into our public hearing. Our first witness is Dr. Height.
Good morning, Chairman Good, Council President Clark, members of the City Council Committee on Appropriations. I'm Bill Height, Superintendent, School District of Philadelphia, and here to speak on Bill 150612. I want to thank City Council for the opportunity to provide testimony today and for Council's continued willingness to champion Philadelphia students and schools. Over the past 5 years, City Council has supported providing more than $300 million in additional revenue to public schools. Our current year budget reflects an additional $70 million in local revenue, including the $25 million in real estate tax revenue that is subject of today's transfer ordinance hearing. The additional local resources City Council has supported have been essential in stabilizing their school system and beginning the deep work needed to rebuild. Without the additional local support for the current fiscal year, we would not have been able to maintain current programs and services. By stepping up with critical, sustainable resources, City Council is helping to address the school district's structural deficit. Along with City Council members and stakeholders across the city and state, we continue to advocate for a state budget that provides significant additional education funding to Philadelphia and to school districts across Pennsylvania. We have detailed plans, primarily developed by principals and their teams, for how to use the additional resources we are seeking from the state. The additional state funds will allow schools to offer and expand important academic and social, emotional programs and resources that support student learning. These are things such as art, music, advanced placement, and credit recovery courses, supports for more counseling, nursing services, and tutoring programs and instructional coaches. State resources will also support providing teachers with resources for instruction, including up-to-date curriculum materials, books, and technology. We remain optimistic that the governor and legislature will come to agreement on a state budget that reflects the high priority citizens in this city and across Pennsylvania place on public education and their schools. With your help, we have steadied the financial situation of the district, and we have much more to do to achieve our overarching goal, that is ensuring that all children have a great public school close to where they live. We are addressing long-standing systemic issues and building momentum in our public schools, both district-run and charter-run. We know it will take time and a collective effort to build a system of great schools across Philadelphia. For that reason, I'm especially encouraged about the cooperation agreement the school district, school reform commission, and city council signed last week. Thank you for your ongoing support. I'm happy to answer any questions from committee members.
Thank you for your testimony, Dr. Height. The chair recognizes Council President Clark for comments and/or questions.
Push the middle button. Push the middle one.
Middle, there you go. All right. Rookie status. Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Chair. First of all, Dr. Height, thank you for your continued service to the children of the city of Philadelphia and your commitment as a public servant. Probably one of the most significant roles that one can play is educating our young people. And I want to thank Commissioner Neff in addition to, and you've been doing a good job, Commissioner, as the chair. As you referenced in your testimony, and again, I want to thank all the participants in pulling together the document that allowed us to create the intergovernmental cooperation agreement. I think it is clearly creates a blueprint for us to move forward in an accurate, transparent, and participatory way, unprecedented, particularly as it relates to the ability for this legislative body to be a part of ensuring that from a fiscal side, we are at a level that we won't have the annual school crisis as it relates to funding. And I want to thank you so much for being a signatory to that, along with my colleague, Councilwoman Blackwell. But the simple matter is that it is just that. It is a start. And we don't want anybody to think that somehow we signed a document, everything's going to be okay. We will be moving quickly into formalizing not only that document, but the process to ensure that individuals, not just in this legislative body, but the public at large, and I want to thank you again for indicating that you will, in fact, make those documents public, so it gives everybody a sense of what's going on from a fiscal perspective. Clearly, the first thing that we need to do, separate and aside from this $25 million, is talk about the structural challenges associated with the school district that were not created by any of you all. The predecessors created a level of debt that it was, frankly speaking, put us in a significant hole. And I think we need to aggressively move towards addressing that, both the state and the city. There are other issues, as you can recall, in the conclusion of the budget hearing that were, at least from our perspective, left somewhat unresolved with respects to the operational side, which is not a part of the agreement that we signed, but we continue to have concerns as it relates to the workforce and the proposed privatization of some of that workforce. Clearly, and I think everyone would acknowledge that on the substitute teachers, we did not end up in a place that any of us were comfortable with, and that continues to be a problem. We know that the issue with respects to the nurses is still out there. At some point, we will get to some conclusion on that. But again, as we indicated at that point, we did have some significant reservations about that. And there are a couple of other issues which I referenced at the signing. I believe in order to have the level of consistency and the sustainability, got to get a contract. Yeah. All right, got to get a contract because we need to understand what the baseline expenditures are, and that will be determined by the contract between the administration and its workforce. And the sooner, frankly speaking, we get that, the better. And not only will it, from a fiscal perspective, but in terms of having a working relationship with the workers that one should have. And, we had our own 5-year dust up on the city level for quite a number of years, and it created the level of acrimony that none of us felt good about. Unfortunately, we ultimately got a contract, and I see it's reflected in this municipal workforce willingness and interest in continuing to provide the services. The second thing is our aggressive push towards community schools. I think that it's clear that all the work that these members have done in putting together a document that puts us in a position that the first response to a challenge will not be to stick our hands in the taxpayers' pockets, because there are opportunities for external resources that will enhance our ability to have the appropriate healthcare services and teacher development and all of the things that I want to commend the presidents of the 3 universities, largest universities, I don't want to say major, for participating in a substantive conversation and making a informal commitment to ensuring that we do that. So we look forward. From my personal perspective, I won't get into a significant number of detailed conversations today about the issues that we raised over the last budget hearing, because now we are after signing that document, we now can get to the nuts and bolts of the fiscal challenges that are faced with the school district, and will be an integral part of coming up with a resolution to those. All right. So I just want to thank you for your participation. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. President. Dr. Height, as you know, we will have a resolution heard on the 21st where we'll ask a lot of these same issues. So all that we know today is appropriations, and we're talking about this money transfer, but all these other issues, many of which the President just referenced, I'm sure will be asked again, and we'll submit them again on the 21st. So you get another chance to respond. Thank you.
Councilman Reynolds Brown.
Yes, good morning. I want to salute you as well, Dr. Height, for working closely with President Clark and creating really another milestone in the relationship between the school district and the President's office. And I've been informed by the President's staff, and I understand that the regular briefings that we will receive will be primarily focused on the academic educational aspects of the district. I don't want the opportunity to go past, however, and alerting you that I and other members of this body also want to know in detail. Let me say this. Typically, it is during school district budget hearings that we get to the guts of detail around the business side of the operation. And so my hope is that during those quarterly sessions, we can also get greater detail on what's happening on the contracting RFP bidding process on the business side of the equation, and not wait just until showtime during budget hearings. Because there's the continuing, I won't go so far as to say it is a concern, but the questions still remain out in the Philadelphia community, and how well is the school district doing when it comes to giving women and people of color opportunity there at the school district. So in some way, shape, form, or fashion, in a way that's comfortable for you and your staff, we want details on that too on a quarterly basis. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilman. Let me note for the record, Councilman Brian O'Neill is present as well. Are there any questions or comments for this witness? Dr. Height, if you could stay around for about 10 minutes while we take a couple other witnesses, there may be some other questions that come up.
Okay, yes, sir. Thanks.
Thank you. Rob DeVoe.
Good morning, Chairman Good, members of the committee. I'm Rob Dubo, Director of Finance, and I'm here to testify in support of Bill number 150612. The bill proposes to transfer $25 million from City Council to the city's annual contribution to the school district. A portion of the projected increase in property tax from the rate increase enacted last spring was intended to come to the city and then be provided to the district. This transfer would make that possible. We support this action to provide additional recurring funding to the district. That concludes my very short testimony, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. DeVoe. Any questions for Mr. DeVoe? Seeing none, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Councilman O'Neill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I know the
Vote was taken earlier, but I would like my vote to be recorded as aye as well. Thank
So
you.
noted. Thank you. Helen Gim.
Hi, good morning. Thank you so much to the City Council Appropriations Committee, Chairman Wilson Good, in particular because I believe that the cooperation agreement and this hearing is one of the most encouraging signs of a new phase of productive budget oversight by City Council to ensure that students actually receive the basic services that they need, that we focus in on equity, particularly for our most vulnerable and traditionally marginalized youth, and real engagement of communities in this process. Thanks to the dogged work of some of our media, we are hearing firsthand about some of the serious consequences that happen to students and their learning when we may overstate or overassume the benefits of privatization. This does not mean, of course, that some contracting, limited and with due diligence on oversight, doesn't have its place. Of course it does. But in the last few years, we have seen a significant expansion of privatization that has had deeply troubling consequences that we're not tracking very well. I think that it's clear that the source for teacher substitute situation has been well documented, but the bigger concern is that 77 students in a classroom at Mastbaum, when I contacted the district, will not be relieved until October 19th, and school started on September 8th. It feels like that's a situation that is extremely urgent and serious, that schools shouldn't be left to fend for themselves or figure that out, that needs to be an immediate deployment, and that we need to be able to jump on that very clearly, and that we want the district to be on top of that and figure out how to support it. The nurses and counselors situation has also been well documented, but I also want to emphasize again that it is not getting any better, even after months and years of addressing this issue. I want to emphasize that this is not significant chunks of money that we're talking about. When the nurses moved from 1 to 750 student ratio to 1 to 1,500 student ratio, it was in the range of $5 to $7 million at the time in 2013. The school district recently testified that to get a counselor back in every school would be on the range of $3.7 million. This is certainly doable and necessary at this time. At a rally at Jackson Elementary School this week, it becomes immediately apparent that the basic lack of services in schools, the fact that there are 3 schools without even having a nurse assigned to them, that there are a nurse available to them, that there are 16 schools without nurses being assigned to them, is a major issue about whether parents even want to send their children to school, to a public school, and ultimately to live in Philadelphia and feel like it's safe for their young people. I feel like this is a doable situation, that if council is, this is the appropriate and necessary and much needed oversight body to start asking some of these questions. I want to make a quick pitch on something that hasn't been talked about very much, which is the rapid privatization around speech therapy and services around speech therapy. So there are about 130, there was formerly about a staff of 130 speech therapists serving 6,800 maybe students in the school district of Philadelphia. Now we're down to 60 school district therapists, and the rest are filled by a variety of contractors who, by the way, are expanding in terms of the number of contracts. There aren't just one contract. There's Progressive Therapy, Metascan, EBS. 20% of these contractors quit mid-year, and that there are 10 to 15 positions that may even be open in the district. But it's important for people and for all of us to start tracking and paying attention to these things, in part because at the end of the day, speech is a federally mandated service, and if kids are going without it, or if they are being interrupted, my own son had a significant speech impediment. He can't see multiple speech therapists in a year. This needs to be consistent. They need to track growth. We have an open site called myphillyschools.com, which is tracking complaints about school services. We've received several dozen unsolicited complaints about lack of services in schools. So I just want to say that I want to see this as a partnership with the district, that we want to figure out solutions to this, but that it is extremely important with the limited amount of funds that we have, that we particularly laser in and focus in on the basic and essential services that are necessary, needed in schools. At the end of the day, federally mandated, state constitutionally required, and that as the district seeks to do other things, new initiatives that may not have existed before, the Renaissance Schools program, which costs $4,000 assumed more dollars per student in stranded costs that have never been justified or clarified, that we need to have more places, and that this cooperation agreement, and in particular that I look forward to working with City Council very carefully to ensure that our services are met, and that council's budget oversight and responsibility, fiscal responsibility to the children of the school district and to the city are well cared for. So thank you very much.
Thank you for your testimony. Any questions, comments for this witness? Seeing none, is there anyone else to testify on this bill?
Well, Mr. Chairman, Ms. Gilman, if you could please report back to the table. So, operating on the philosophy that you cannot hold people responsible for that which you have not brought to their attention, that's how I try to live. I assume you've registered your concerns, your observations with the school district in a way that lets them know, A, you're interested, B, you're concerned, and C, seeking to work through with them what those possible remedies could be.